Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. We're here talking more football today, but before we talk about a whole lot of football, we promised Dustin after 2 weeks of shelving his PTI questions that these were the first things we're going to talk about this week. So, Dustin, take it away.
Yeah, let's see. I came up with some questions that could be interpreted as really dumb ideas. So let's see how we agree or disagree on these. So first question is, or the stance that I'm taking, players across all sports should have more customization in their personal jersey design and nameplate to improve entertainment and player recognition. And so what I mean by this is, let's say, in talking about football in the NFL, that there's a base jersey color, thing. You got to all look the same, but players should be able to choose, different color socks and cleats and different color armbands and things like that. And whatever name they want displayed on their back is their choice to have. It doesn't have to be, their last name. They can have a nickname or whatever, and have other different type of colors or other things like that associated with their jersey in order to have player recognition, so that everybody knows, oh, I know that guy. They can associate the name with the jersey, and it's not just blended in with everybody else. That's a good example for football. Any immediate feedback there? What do you guys think?
You think about soccer, for example, and jerseys in soccer are almost advertisements more than anything else. Same with race car drivers. The cars are what you could consider a jersey in this case. They're all advertisements for other people that, other companies and things like that. A lot of these guys, in especially basketball, but football quarterbacks and things like that, they are getting to be their own brands. Like LeBron has his own brand, Durant has a brand, and all these other guys have a bunch of brands that they're working with, and they're so famous by themselves that they promote themselves, and they have a little bit of customization. I agree with that to a point, though. The point being, like, I don't want, if we're talking basketball again, I don't want Steph Curry wearing a purple jersey and Draymond Green wearing a green one. Like, there needs to be uniformity with the uniforms. And so there has to be, to a certain point, and you may have already expected that, but that would be my only caveat is, yes, some customization is fine, but going too far is not. You've got to, especially for people to recognize, oh, that is my team or that is not my team.
I think for me, I think a lot of it, I agree with the name across the board, like how Ocho Cinco had to legally change his name. I thought that was ridiculous. He should be allowed to put his sports nickname on there, just like everybody else should be allowed to do that. I don't think that affects the game. I think you disagreed with Scott as far as the changing of the colors on the jersey itself, right? You're saying accessories can be different colors, yeah, but not jerseys, correct?
Yeah, the base jersey should all be the same, but accessories, or for example, on a, let's say, basketball, if a player's is a 6-time All-Star, what can they have, that has like six something on it that represents them as a 6-time All-Star or whatever.
So I think, how they do the numbers for people that passed away or whatever. Mm-hmm. The only reason they wouldn't want to take up that space is because it's generally reserved for dead players and stuff, like their numbers or a tragedy that happens during the season. We've seen that a lot. I think accessory-wise, who cares? You shouldn't have the right to tell a grown man what he can put on before he plays a sport. Yeah. If he's not outside of the dress code or it's not affecting his or someone else's performance, I don't think anybody has the right to tell him what to wear. Remember Deion Sanders used to have like 18 wristbands. So I don't know how that really differs or agrees with your point, but I think a lot of that stuff is already open, but they have cracked down on it in different years, and they just kind of change it at a whim. You know what I mean? But I definitely agree on the name change thing. That should be up to whoever. And as far as the like accessories go, I agree they should have freedom to look how they want to look as long as they're not outside of the dress code confusing everybody.
Yeah, I think we all kind of share similar thoughts. My thought is, well, I mean, first off, I didn't even know they couldn't do that. I mean, that's stupid to me. You can't. And so my thought is, if this is this is their job, right? So if you work at Taco Bell, you have to wear a Taco Bell hat or a Taco Bell shirt, right? You have a uniform you have to wear. If you go work at Walmart, you have a sales associate type of thing you wear. And that's just how jobs work typically, at least ones that you have to be with customer service every day. And so in this idea, this is still their job. They have to wear a uniform to represent their team or their organization. And that has to be recognizable by the public. And so, so I agree with that idea is that if you're the Eagles, you don't get to wear a different color than what the rest of your team's wearing. That's what you're going to wear. But other than that, I don't care what's written on the back of your jersey. I don't care what you're wearing as your sock or your shoe or whatever. And you can have as much bling as you want, things like that. But and the fact that this is even a PTI question, the fact that this is a thing is kind of ridiculous. Like, why can't they? You go do you if you want to. I mean, are they going to stop you from getting a sleeve of tattoos? No, because that's your body. You can do what you want, right? Same thing with if you want to wear some armbands, you can do that too. So, aside from that, that's my thought.
Yeah, the thing I think about is the NFL controls the color of cleats you can wear, and that's dumb, but they do. Like they fine you if you show up in a certain color of cleats that's not appropriate. You can wear like pink ones during October, but not the rest of the breast cancer awareness thing. Like I don't get it. But the other one in basketball is you have to tuck your jersey into your shorts, or else you get if you get a warning, and then if you keep on doing it, you get a technical. And so it's just a weird situation.
Well, we wouldn't want to be raising awareness for breast cancer outside the month that the NFL can't make money off of it.
Right.
Right. We've only got certain patents out here. Yeah. You guys are trying to save titties that we can't make money off of. That's just not allowed.
They just showed cheerleaders
black
more.
People have history in any month other than February. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All right, next question over to the NBA, and this one is interesting here. The NBA court should be changed so that the three-point line doesn't have this curve in, but instead just continues to extend at an angle so that it essentially eliminates the corner three. This would discourage the current thing in the NBA where teams are shooting 40 or 50 threes in a game, and it's not much defense being played. So changing the way that the court is formatted in order to improve the game. That's an opinion that I have. What's your thoughts on this?
My first thought is don't change the court to improve defense. Improve your defense to improve your defense. Like the corner three is the shortest three-pointer, right? Like it's supposed to be, it's easier at least by distance than the other three-pointers. It's not necessarily easier by other reasons, but and zone defense makes it tough sometimes to cover the corner three, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. And so I don't agree with changing it to improve some defense or improve even offense if you want to like make a 4-point play. I mean, I don't agree with that kind of thing either way. I just say adapt to the game as it is, and if there's a really good reason to change it, then do it. But to me, that's not it.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to, that's almost back in time a little bit to when there was no three, I guess you're still keeping a 3-point shot, but the way that we're trying to, I think I agree with Scott a little. The way you're trying to cut the cord off and just make it all essentially the longest to mid-longest three there is on the court, right, Dustin? So what feet are we talking? What's our angle start at?
In NBA, probably about the 26, 25.
26 footer?
Three-point shots are 25 feet or longer.
Okay. And so I think I don't want to change the entire court for one player, Steph Curry, kind of sending a wave through the next 7 years of players, because that's going to die off. And I think that's what I think you could go back to Steph being the guy that kind of made it why you would need defenses to change, right? And then other players adopted his style a little bit to where you could shoot further back. But I don't see – he's not like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar where you need to change 6 of the rules to make it to where he can't do everything better than everybody. You know what I mean? And so other than – I think I would disagree with your point altogether. The game is the way that it is, and – I don't think just making it harder on the offense and easier for the defense is a way to balance that out appropriately. I don't know what the answer to that would be, and I do agree that there's a problem with how easy it is for offenses to shoot beyond the arc now. So maybe extending it in general or widening the court altogether and making each three-point shot longer. But that wasn't the question, so I'm not really sure what the answer would be, but I think it would be unfair to defenses to just cut it off, because it would give too much of an advantage to them and too much of a disadvantage to the offense.
I don't think I have a whole lot to add, honestly. I think I side with Scott most closely. With it, you just improve the defense more to improve defense, I think, is my idea. I don't like the idea of changing the court. I can see ideas of changing rules in certain ways, but not changing the court.
Yeah, good. I know that the NBA is trying to look at it because fans have said there's a little bit of boredom, that it's just, every play is ending in a 3-point shot, and there's not any of these fancy pick and rolls and drives to the rim. It's just a 3-point contest all game long, and fans have a little displeasure at that, and so they're thinking of ways to change it. All right. Last question here, or thing here. The winner of the previous year's championship, whatever sport it is, should have some form of bonus or reward during the next season, such as additional home games and additional that counts as an automatic win or extra cap space. And so, winning let's say a Super Bowl, it's huge. There's only one championship to go around. We talk about this all the time. But then when you go into the next season, it's a blank slate again. And so I'm thinking there should be some type of you did it. Now you're going to have some type of advantage going in. Perhaps that's you get an automatic win tallied onto your score to help you get to back to the playoffs again, or you have an additional home game that helps with your revenue and all that things, and all these different ways that gives you an advantage because you won the Super Bowl. The deck's going to be stacked for you for the next season.
I think you're about to get torn apart, Dustin.
I'm itching to argue with you, but I'll let Scott go first.
Yancey, you go first, man.
Awesome. So, hard line disagree with you. I think winning the Super Bowl is the reward. This sounds like some kind of DEI BS. They won last year. Give them a good leg up this year. That sounds crazy to me. Of course it's a blank slate. That's the entire point. When you win a heavyweight championship belt in boxing, do you get to just say, well, I'm the best forever. I guess I'm done boxing. I'm never going to box it. No, we would call you a coward and a loser for not taking on the next guy who wants his shot. And so I think it's up to each team each year to prove that they're the best. The Super Bowl is the reward. You're all going to make more money next year. You're all going to sell more jerseys next year. And that helps owners. So there's not much you can do for the advantage of the players. And that's who I would want to get the reward, since that's who won the game or went to the playoffs. I think giving the best team from last year another leg up for all the other teams the next year is just abysmally unfair, right? There's no reward for it, because you already got the reward and you just get extra candy for what? Doesn't sound right. And that would just be my basic, like, no, they already won. That's the goal. That's the reward, is being the best. And so you're going to say that the best guy gets more to be better next year? Chiefs fan.
I was about to say,
Sorry,
I think
go ahead.
Dustin's just a little. What advantage could we have had to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl?
There you go.
Maybe we start every game up 7-0.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
If we would have had that extra free win in the beginning of the season, we would have just said, no, that's a mulligan. We're using that win against the Eagles.
Yeah, Dustin, I mean, I agree 100% with Yancey here. Everything Yancey said. The only thing that I would add is I would have bet you that every player who has won a Super Bowl would disagree with that too, for the same reason that Yancey just said, that they don't want to start in a way that gets rewarded for doing something they did last year. It's about proving it again. These guys are competitors. These guys want to prove they're the best without getting any kind of advantage that they didn't already earn for this year. You get that first round bye. You've earned it through the course of the season. You're not given it for just because your team won a bunch of games last year. And so I would imagine that most competitors would want to get those awards by their own merits as well.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Yancey and Scott. I think, in my opinion, it would be a horrendous and stupid thing to be done to any league. I think that it's the whole idea is let's give everyone an equal chance, and we're going to see who can be the winner at the end of the year. And I really like the idea that the team who did worst, their advantage, if you want to look at it that way, is they get the first pick in the draft, right? And so that and I like that idea. Is like, hey, let's give them an opportunity to get a leg up, if you will. Why should we give that to the team who just won? They already have a leg up. They already have they already have maybe the best coach. They already have the team that was able to show that they could do that. That is their reward. They have that. And so, yeah, I agree with Scott and Yancey. There's also another thought along with what Scott said about how players would probably disagree with you too. AJ Brown had said that he thought that winning the Super Bowl would have been the catalyst or the whole, cherry on top kind of feeling. He said it really wasn't. It wasn't everything it was out to be. It was the journey to get there, in his opinion. He liked the journey getting there. And just being given part of that journey, the way he was saying that would be a rip to him, would be a rip to everything that they actually worked for and earned. And let alone the rest of the league would say, well, that's only because X, Y, and Z, they had this. It wouldn't be a true fair comparison of competition.
Dustin, any give you a chance to fire back if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, all of your comments are good. They make sense. And like you said, many people would probably agree with you. And, I'm not talking about, if you win the Super Bowl, you're automatically in the playoffs next year. No, it's not what it's about. This is a small boost to help you try to get back their season, but it's not for you. It's for everybody else. You're the king on the hill. The defending champs is already there. And even more, everybody else is the underdog compared to you, and so I like the king of the hill kind of game, when you go into that guy's stadium where they come to you, that you have something to fight for more than just pride.
Yeah, I mean, with that thought, I think that they already have that king of the hill mentality. They're already that person. The Chiefs for the last few years have been that, well, can we beat the Chiefs this year? That's their pedestal that they're on. And the idea that I was saying about let's just go with the Chiefs, for example, even though they didn't win this year, but they won last few years. They have Andy Reid, who's arguably the best coach right now in the NFL. Might even not be arguable, honestly. They have, we could count how many players they have on their team that are exceptional. That right there is that king of the hill mentality. Is if you want to go beat them, then you got to figure out a way to beat Andy Reid. You got to figure out a way to beat Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Eagles did that. The Eagles were able to figure out a way to do that, and they didn't need a pedestal to be compared to. They didn't need a leg up. They didn't need whatever it is. They didn't need that, and they probably wouldn't have wanted that. They wanted to go out there and prove it, and they did. And so that idea, the king of the hill, it's already there without any of that extra stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, I
As
think
a competitor,
go ahead, Yancey.
Isn't it? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Yancey.
Isn't it kind of embarrassing to get most improved player award and stuff like that, like the pat on the back thing? And do you think a Super Bowl champion wants that? Because that's kind of what you know what I mean? It feels like a consultation prize for the Super Bowl winner. If you're saying a thing that kind of makes a difference but doesn't really make a difference, as a competitor, if I beat up a dude in a cage match and then he hands me, I'm going to laugh and feel bad for him. Like, dude, I don't need an advantage. I have an advantage. So I feel like it's almost to give them a perceived extra advantage is almost a slap in the face, like saying they weren't good enough last year. They'll need help next year. But that's just my personal opinion, how I would feel about it as a competitor. Because I want you to give the other guy every advantage. So when I smack him in the mouth, you're like, how do you do that? And just as a competitor, I think it feels better to be the underdog. And you kind of take that away even more so because they're already the champion, and then you get and I think that's what's kind of just touching me about the giving the champs the extra stuff.
All right, I'll change it to whoever wins the Super Bowl gets to have a pop star date one of their players.
Wait,
Yeah.
You were behind that? I thought you just worked for Budweiser, not the NFL. That's crazy.
Doesn't Budweiser run everything these days, though, Yancey?
I thought Jalen Hurts is dating
coaching
someone.
Yeah.
So,
What's next? Yeah. Can you give us a little hint?
All right. I'm going to share my screen. That is the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hopefully this goes faster than the Big Ten last week, and I would think it should. This is the SEC. There's only 14 teams. 16 teams. Yes. So let's get through the SEC and how they did in the season. Starting with Alabama. Obviously 9-4 is not quite to Alabama's previous standards. With Nick Saban there, they were averaging 1 or 2 losses per season. And so doubling that this year, they lost that bowl game to Michigan as well. You can see over here, Kalen DeBoer had a pretty good first season. I mean, keeping Alabama relevant and winning 9 games during the regular season is really good. You can see Jalen Milroe had a really good season, rushing for 700 yards, throwing for 2,600. Good quarterback there.
Really quick, I think the only thing I want to say here is anyone who expected Alabama would look like Nick Saban's Alabama team, that they were shooting themselves in the foot there. I mean, Nick Saban is the greatest college coach of all time, I think, at least one of them. And so you can't really hire anyone who could actually fill those shoes, at least on the first season. And a 9-3 record, pretty much 99% of teams would kill for that.
Yeah. Okay. Arkansas. We all said that they might have a tough season this year. Instead, they finished with a winning record, 7-6. Sam Pittman probably saves his job this year. Won a couple of big games. They beat Tennessee, for example, earlier this season, who went to the playoff. And so they beat Tennessee. I guess that's really only their their really only good win. But Taylon Green played pretty well at quarterback. You want to see him play a little bit better. Landon Jackson there is probably a draft pick at defensive end. And like I said, Sam Pittman probably saved his job by going 7-6. It's not a great record, but a lot better than the previous year. They won 4, right?
Jaquindon Jackson had an okay season, not in yardage, but in scoring. He got in the end zone.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, as you mentioned, really the only notable win was against Tennessee, and every single other win really wasn't there. All the other wins were against weaker SEC things, and then their losses. So yeah, losses against strong SEC teams, but then also losses against weaker teams like
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
Auburn. They didn't win enough games to go to a bowl game this year. Went 5-7. Not a whole lot of good happening here. Peyton Thorne did play pretty well at quarterback given the season that they had, as well as the wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, almost 1,000 yards receiving for him. But Hugh Freeze is having a tough tenure over there at Auburn right now. And did I read that he might be out?
So I saw he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but he plans to coach through it.
Okay.
Coach through treatment. So we'll see how that works. But either
Wow.
way, I hope everything works out for him. Obviously.
Yeah.
So.
That's a tough thing to coach through. I mean, it's already a stressful job.
Yeah, what a beast, though. Good on him for saying, what's a little cancer to stop me from coaching?
Yeah. Okay, Florida. They had a pretty good season given their history, at least. 8-5, won the Gasparilla Bowl pretty easily over Tulane. DJ Lagway, not a great season at quarterback there, and not really a great. Any numbers really stick out, but Billy Napier coming along did finish the season on a 3-game winning streak, and 2 of those came against really good SEC teams, LSU and Ole Miss. And so they're one of the youngest teams in college football. So I think Gainesville is pretty excited for what that might be next year. Even though Florida State wasn't a good team, they still beat them. They beat Kentucky this year too. I mean, they won some big games.
I'm betting with those numbers, Jadam Vaugh gets replaced by somebody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Georgia goes 11-3. They did win the SEC championship. They beat Texas twice this season, once during the regular season and once in the SEC championship game, and then lost the Sugar Bowl to Notre Dame, who ended up going to the national championship game. I think I said that twice. Carson Beck had a really good season, 28 touchdowns, 12 picks, did not play in that bowl game against Notre Dame because of an injury, I believe. And so that really hurt their chances to beat Notre Dame. But this is a good team. Kirby Smart has a fantastic record over 9 seasons, 105-18 over there in Georgia. This is always going to be a powerhouse, I think. And they lost a few games this year, but just 2 in the regular season, really. Alabama and Ole Miss, 2 good teams themselves.
And
Yeah, I like the numbers from Beck, but 12 picks. I mean, a pick every single game. Okay, you can say, okay, we can get 1 pick out of a game, but over the course of a season, that level of consistency in the negative way is maybe not so.
Yeah.
He also looks like there's a midget pulling his hairline back. Just sits on the back of his neck all day. Sorry.
Just 2 quick things. Malachi Starks is a fantastic safety and is going to be a first-round pick, I believe, this year. And second, Carson Beck actually transferred out of Georgia. He's playing for Miami next year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Interesting. I'm actually looking forward to that. That'd be nice.
Okay, Kentucky, bad season, 4-8 in the hundreds in offense. Just not a good season in Kentucky there. Brock Vandegrift didn't do very well at quarterback. Pretty good season though from this long name here, Jamon Dumas Johnson. A lot of numbers there on defense, but they did beat Ole Miss. That was their really big calling card this year. They beat them by 3 in wherever Ole Miss plays. I can't remember. It's not Starkville. It's the other one. So pretty good season, pretty good game there. But overall, just a tough season.
They play in Mississippi. You're welcome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I can't remember what the city's called. LSU 9-4. Not as obviously when Jaden Daniels was there, they were the number 1 offense in the country. When he leaves, they drop down to 56th. So that's how good Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and all of those great players were that went to the NFL. But still a really good season. 9-4. Garrett Nussmeier, pretty good replacement there for Jaden Daniels. He played pretty well. Brian Kelly's looking good. They beat Ole Miss as well. They were one of the 3 teams that beat Ole Miss, as well as South Carolina earlier in the season. Zy Alexander is probably a top 10 pick.
He's also the captain now.
What did you say?
Yep.
I said he's also the captain now.
From Captain
Look
Phillips.
at me. I am the captain now. I maybe shouldn't have made that joke. I apologize.
I think that's a great joke. No,
That's funny. That's funny.
over to Ole Miss. They finished 2nd in the country in yards, 521 yards per game. They moved the ball up and down the field with no problems. 7th in points per game, also 4th in points allowed per game. This was a really good football team that ended up just losing to Kentucky for some reason out of the blue at home. Lost to LSU, lost to Florida. They won all their other games, including Georgia. Jackson Dart is he's not considered one of those top 2 quarterbacks, but he's probably the 3rd quarterback in the draft going to be taken, unless some team really likes that he played for Ole Miss SEC team. I'd be surprised if he was less taken before the top 2 quarterbacks, but he could still be a 1st-round quarterback taken.
Henry Parrish looks like he's bawling his eyes out.
He kind of does, doesn't he?
What am I going to do without football?
Okay, Mississippi State, horrible season, 2-10. And this is the one in Starkville. Just nothing went right for Mississippi State. Their 2 wins came against Eastern Kentucky and Massachusetts. So that tells enough about the season that went on down there. First year head coach Jeff Lebby. Not sure he's going to be there very much longer if that turns out to be a theme.
Not sure if anybody's going to catch this, but he looks like Big J. Okerson, the coach.
Don't know that one.
All right. Yeah, it's a long shot. Friend of Kevin Hart. He's a comedian,
okay.
but his style is raunchy, so I didn't expect it to be known in here.
Okay, Missouri went 10-3. They're always one of those teams you forget how good they are until the season happens, but they are really good. They won the Music City Bowl against Iowa. Pretty good numbers here from Nate Noel, 5 yards per carry, just 3 touchdowns though. You want to see him get in the end zone a lot more than that. But losses to Alabama, to A&M, and to South Carolina. Those are 3 really good teams. So you'd want to see them win 1 or 2 of those to be able to get to the SEC championship game. But Mizzou is always a good one.
They must have had a very good defense because Brady Cook had 9 passing touchdowns, or a running back had 3, yet they went 10-3. How are they? How are they winning these games?
So 20th in the country in points allowed, 22nd in yards allowed. So that is considering there's 135 teams, being number 20 is pretty dang good on defense.
Crazy. You score an offensive under 15 total touchdowns for the year, and you go 10-3. At least that's what we're seeing here. There's got to be more than that.
I think there's
a game where they scored 51 points.
Yeah, they won 51-0 here. I imagine that Brady Cook was hurt for part of the season, probably. Maybe even Nate Noel too. Oklahoma, their first year in the SEC wasn't a good one. 6-7. That's not a normal Sooner season. Jackson Arnold there, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's pretty good numbers for Jackson Arnold. Brent Venables, he was the Clemson offensive coordinator at 22-16 over 3 years. That's not good enough in Norman, Oklahoma. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. But they did beat Alabama that second to last game of the season, 24-3. So they did show up in that game, but not a whole lot anywhere else. Okay, South Carolina had a very good season, kind of came out of nowhere. Lenora Sellers was fun. He was just a fun guy to watch. He's huge. I don't have the height and weight here, but he's about 6'4" and about 260 pounds, and runs about a 4.3 40. He's a freak of nature. And he was so fun to watch. He threw 17 touchdowns, but he also ran for a bunch. I don't have his rushing numbers here, but it was fun to watch South Carolina this year with him running the ball and throwing it. Okay. Tennessee, they did go to the playoff. They went 10-2 in the regular season, and then lost that first round game to Ohio State. But 8th in the country in points, 8th in the country in yards, 5th in the country in points allowed, 4th in the country in yards allowed. This was a solid football team. Then they allowed 42 points to Ohio State and only scored 17. So, get what you will from that. I don't know how to say his name. Nico Iamaleava, I think. I can't say that fast, but I can pronounce it syllable by syllable. 19 touchdowns, 5 picks on the season. That's really good ratio. Josh Heupel has that team playing really well. Obviously, winning against Alabama, winning against Florida, winning against Oklahoma. Some good big ones there.
Sampson finding the end zone 22 times.
No
Shout
kidding.
out.
And 1,500 yards almost on the ground.
Got a 95 version of him on College Football 25. He is a monster.
Yeah. I don't know what I haven't heard his name yet preparing for the NFL draft. Cody, do you know anything?
Yeah, he's he declared, I believe, looks to be a top 5 running back.
Yeah.
Top 5 running backs.
Okay.
I could see that with those numbers.
6
those numbers support it.
6 yards per carry. I mean, this offensive line also has to be going. They can all probably go to the draft with that kind of stuff behind them. So,
yeah.
I'm not alone in thinking those are crazy numbers, right?
Oh no, those are nuts.
22 touchdowns, over 1,000, almost 1,500.
I think he's expected to go somewhere early to mid second round.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Texas got back to the playoff for the second year in a row. Lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but still got to the playoff where they won their first round against Clemson, won that second round game that was a thriller, double overtime against Arizona State, and then lost that Cotton Bowl to Ohio State. They were an excellent defensive team, number 1 in the country in passing yards allowed, number 2 in points allowed, number 3 in yards allowed. Not bad on offense either, but their defense is where they won a lot of their games. And you'll see that here. You see 0, 12, 7, 3, 3 that they're allowing there. Quinn Ewers played really good. They kind of had a 2 quarterback system there for a little while, bringing in Arch Manning at times, who, is Quinn Ewers going to the draft, Cody?
Yeah, he is. He's, okay. I think, QB number 4 right now on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Arch Manning is probably getting his first turn at being the number 1 quarterback there next year. That's going to be fun for a lot of people. Obviously, people expect a lot out of that Manning family, and Arch is one of them. So,
I mean, he played really well when he was in there, though. Mm-hmm. Didn't he have a game that was like record-setting or close to it?
I can't remember specifics on that one, but it wouldn't surprise me.
That sounds familiar, but I can't tell you what it was or who it was against or anything like that. But it sounds familiar, yeah.
Okay, I could have swore he threw a crazy amount of touchdowns in his first start, but I could be mistaken. Because didn't Ewers get injured for like 3 games?
I'm not sure if he was in. He may have been injured, but I know they brought in Manning to just, whether it was a 2 quarterback system or whether it was just deciding to start Manning for a game or 2 in there.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
My bad. I might be mistaken.
There was one game in there. I don't remember where, but he just wasn't playing well. And so I think they actually benched him at halftime, and Arch came in for the rest of the half. And then Ewers was playing the next week and never looked back.
Okay.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
A&M. 8-5. They lost the Las Vegas Bowl to USC. Okay numbers there. Mike Elko in his first year, he was the Duke head coach the previous year. He did. I mean, Texas A&M did well enough. Still 4 losses in the regular season. A&M is better than that. They lost some games they shouldn't have, to Auburn in particular. Shouldn't lose that game. Vanderbilt, this was their first winning season in years, in more than a decade. They finally went 7-6, so they've been a losing team for more than a decade. But finally, something lit a fire under them. You all remember their win against Alabama and taking the goalpost and throwing it in the river. But just a lot of cool things there. Diego Pavia, I think is how you pronounce it. Diego Pavia is just a fun guy to watch play football too. He has no fear. He's going to run right into a defensive end going at him about 100 miles an hour, and he's going to go straight into him, looking like he's going to break his neck. But he runs, he throws, he doesn't turn the ball over. He's just fun to watch. I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback, but he's living his dream right now.
He might get another, or he might be in the future though. He did earn an appeal to play another year of college football, and so he earned another year of eligibility, and it's because of the whole JUCO type deals if that they were counting or not. So, but he won his appeal, which has actually led a lot of other players to try to make that appeal because they were JUCO players too.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So looking at the board, obviously it's full of SEC stuff. The only person that had all of these playoff teams was me, because I was the only one that had Tennessee in there. But I mean, Cody, Yancey, and I all had Georgia winning the the SEC championship game, so we were all there. Dustin had Georgia in it, and Cody also had Texas in the playoff. But other than that, just some misses everywhere else. Auburn's in there. Ole Miss is in there for all of us, almost. So, yep. Okay. Let's move on and see how quickly we can do this. Because we got about 45 minutes to get 4 teams. That leaves us about 10 minutes per team. So, for the AFC South. And Cody, you are up first with the Houston Texans.
Do you want to switch?
Yeah, can you switch?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was.
I mean, I can try, but I might not do very well here.
We're just gonna wing it.
I changed on my screen, but not on yours. So,
okay. All righty. Houston Texans, 10-7, first in the AFC South. They repeat as division champions from last year. They won the wild card against the Chargers. They were a pretty good team. You can see they were 6th in yards per game allowed. And then 14th in points per game allowed. I'm reading that right. 19th points per game. So they're kind of middle of the pack there, but still a very good team overall. You can go ahead and move forward. CJ Stroud, he kind of had a little bit of fall off this year, exactly as I think, if I remember correctly, Dustin predicted. He was great last year. He was good this year, but I wouldn't say he was great. 12 interceptions is too much. Against 20 touchdowns. 20 touchdowns is good, but I think we need to be seeing bigger numbers than that. Joe Mixon, great running back. I think a lot of people knew that he would be great for the Texans, and he did. So he over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. So he found the end zone often. Nico Collins, great receiver as well. And remind me, purple was Pro Bowl?
Pink is Pro Bowl. Yellow is second team All Pro.
Second team, okay. So yeah, Nico Collins, fantastic receiver, 7 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, with only 68 receptions. That kind of, it shows that he's probably getting. I mean, I can't do math, but we can probably figure it's probably 20 plus a catch. So, Tank Dell, was he the one who got injured severely? I remember. Okay, so
he'll probably miss all of next year.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. We might not even see him next year. So, hopefully he gets a full recovery and can come back to playing because he's a great player as well. Dalton Schultz probably should have had a bit more of a year, at least as far as receiving and touchdowns go. But he was probably good in blocking game. Offensive line, Laramie Tunsil was probably the highlight of that line. 0 penalties is just by itself is phenomenal. So good on him for that. 93% of snaps. Other than that, I'm not sure there's anyone else I can really point out other than maybe Juice Scruggs had 99% of Scruggs had 99% the snaps. Other than that, not really anything to point out with the O-line. Defensive line, Daniil Hunter was kind of the bright spot. He came in from, I think it was Minnesota, and he showed up, made a Pro Bowl, 12 sacks. And the opposite of him, Will Anderson with 11 sacks. So they had a very good defensive line. And then they're in the middle, 3 sacks and 5 sacks with Edwards and Settle. So yeah, scary line. Linebackers, Aziz Al-Shahir is the one who I think tried to kill people 3 or 4 times this year. He's a good player, good linebacker. He's just kind of vicious, which sometimes you need, but sometimes you also got to cool it down a little bit. We had a pretty good year, and then Henry to I think that's how you say it. 105 tackles, 1 interception. He had a lot of good numbers there as well. So pretty good linebacking core.
Better than me. I'd have gone 2-2.
And secondary. All right, Derek Stingley. That's
unanimous first team All Pro. Yeah.
Okay. And that's well earned. We have 5 interceptions by him, 54 tackles, 4 TFLs, which TFLs are just impressive when you're in secondary. 18 pass deflections, just phenomenal player. And then, excuse me, everyone else had pretty good numbers as well. Not like Stingley, but really good numbers. Some people that you want as your starters. So good defense, very good defense on this team. As far as backups, it's kind of crazy to see Stephon Diggs listed as a backup. Must because he was injured or something, right?
He was injured, yeah.
This
is by snap counts, not by.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah.
Other than that, I'm not sure there's really any point. No, you're good. Defensive secondary. Yeah, I don't know if there's really anything to point out, honestly. Okay, special teams.
Dude looks like a lady.
So we got Kaimi Fairbairn. He's a pretty good kicker overall, but 36 out of 42. That's 6 misses. I think that's probably got to do a bit better than that. 34, 36 extra points. Tommy Townsend, he punted a lot. 76 punts is a lot. So 48 average. And then John Weeks, long snapper. I guess it's a good thing when he doesn't have any crazy numbers. So there you go. D'Amico Ryans, I think, is doing a really good job as head coach right now. Got him to win division twice in a row. Got to the playoffs both times. 2014 record. So I think it's just about figuring out how to get further in the playoffs. Bobby Slowick, great offensive coordinator, except when he was fired. I thought he was hired by someone else, but I didn't think he was fired.
Miami. He was fired by Houston and hired by Miami. Yeah.
As OC there, I assume, right?
No, but I think he's quarterback's coach.
Oh,
Miami.
Yeah, I did not know about it. So Matt Burke, I actually don't know that name very well. So, but he is doing really good as a defensive coordinator. Defense is doing great. So,
yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop share. So, Cody, you can lead a discussion.
Overall, I'd give the Texans probably like a B plus. I think they did pretty well. They were able to get back to the playoffs, win the division again, but they could have had a better record. As to win the division with only 10 wins just means you're in a bad division, right? And so they got lucky with that. But they were able to execute. They were able to win when they needed to. They were able to get the playoffs. I don't remember. Did they win their first game in the playoffs? They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
They the Texans. Or sorry, the
Chargers.
They beat the Chargers and then they played the Chiefs, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I would say B plus. Curious to hear what you guys say.
I don't know if we want to do a rotation by how we go next, but I'll throw this in the hat that the biggest struggle all year was the offensive line for the Texans. It was awful. CJ Stroud, I mean, yes, he didn't play well, but a lot of that wasn't on him. It was on the fact that the offensive line was awful, horrible. You have one good player in Laramie Tunsil there who, is a really good offensive lineman, and then 4 who were just awful next to him. And part of that was that they had to shuffle things around for injuries, but it was just bad. And so if I'm going into the offseason and I'm a Texans general manager, that is the first thing I'm focusing on in the draft and in free agency. My first draft pick is an offensive lineman, and I'm paying big money to probably a guy on the right side. I'm probably moving the right tackle. I can't remember his name right now for some reason. The Titus Howard. I'm moving him to guard because he wasn't playing well at tackle, and I'm bringing in a veteran right tackle, and I'm drafting a left guard or something like that. So I'm reshuffling that whole offensive line because that was the biggest problem for this whole offense.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I don't have a whole lot to add. I think that they have the skill positions to get it done, but like Scott was saying, if you don't have a line to protect those guys, they're not going to be able to get the ball off in time or do what they need to do to participate on the offense.
Yeah, with Bobby Sloak moving on, I thought that made sense given their numbers, that this is a division winner playoff team that's in the bottom half of the league on every offensive metric. That it as a GM or an owner, you look at that and say, what could we have accomplished if we improved so much on the offensive side, and so that makes sense there. The only other comment I'd have is what they did to the Chargers in that first round of playoffs was really exciting. That was a really fun game to watch. They ripped.
Yeah. Okay. We'll reshare the screen. And I believe it's Yancey's turn up with the Colts.
Let's go. 8-9, not the kind of season you want to have as a team. When you're losing more than you're winning, that ain't good, in the words of John Madden. I'm sure he said it at some point. 22 points per game, 17th in the league. 334 yards per game, 13th. 24th for defense, allowing 25 points per game on average. And then yards per game, 361. They're letting everybody outperform them, basically, so 29th in the league there. I guess they're really good at not getting penalized is all I would say here. We can move on. Anthony Richardson did not perform well at all, even if you want to call it a performance. 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's an inverse of what I'd like to see, and I'd rather the 12 be a 21 and be for touchdowns. So we can move on. He just sucked this year.
47% completion is horrible.
That's 20% below a bad quarterback.
Yeah, I like the Colts, so this is hard for me to talk about.
I think he was injured for part of it.
He was injured for part of it, yeah.
It's still no excuse.
Yeah, it doesn't make
He played bad this year.
Yes.
Jonathan Taylor was, I guess, the shining light on this Colts offense, if you want to call it that. What was the pink indicate again? All Pro or Pro Bowl? Thank you. I mean, kind of deservingly, if you look at his numbers, he was being a two-piece weapon there and running the ball and catching it for him. Pittman did okay, couldn't break 1,000. I don't see anybody else worth mentioning. Mo Ali Cox, I had strong hopes for him, but he wasn't good. Sorry, Dustin?
Alec Pierce was their deep threat. Basically all the passes that they threw were to him deep.
He had half the receptions of Michael Pittman, who had more yards than him.
Jeez, and double the touchdowns +1. Good on him. Okay, thanks for shouting him out, Dustin. I didn't even know. I wasn't even paying attention.
Just really quick, I was going to say over 300 rushes for Jonathan Taylor is insane. I mean, it makes sense when you have a quarterback who's throwing 47%, but still, 300 rushes is insane.
Yeah, they're going to wear his legs out. He could have been like a 5-6 year starter, and I think that the first 2 years, they basically abused his legs, and he's not going to be worth so much in 2 seasons. Let's see. I guess Quentin Nelson deserves a shout out for, what is that, unanimous All-Pro?
That's not unanimous, but there are some first-team votes in there. Yeah.
Oh, first-team votes. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I would really mention there.
If you go back, I made Bernard Raymond. It looks like he like, oh man, I blinked. Can I take another picture? Nope, that's it. You're done.
That is good. He's got like his driver's license photo for the NFL. Quiddy Pay is just fun to say. 41 tackles, 10 for a loss, 8 sacks is okay. No, it's not. That's a lie. You got to tackle more people than that 41 times. I don't see anybody that would even get an honorable mention. Grover Stewart, I guess, for having the most tackles, but I would expect that number to be in the hundreds in most. There we go, linebackers. Franklin, that's
second team.
decent, but not out. Yeah, but not out. Well, I guess it's kind of out.
Well, let me say this. Zaire Franklin led the NFL in tackles. 173 was the most tackles in the NFL.
Okay, so there we go. I'm glad you stopped me from sounding like an idiot. So that is outstanding. 5 forced fumbles is nice.
Yeah.
Same thing to EJ Speed. He was chasing after Franklin for those tackles. And 7 for a loss. Let's move on. Kenny Moore, Julian Blackman, Samuel Womack, Nick Cross, and Jalen Jones. I would shout out Nick Cross for getting that many tackles from the secondary, but it's not a good thing. But I guess it's good that he did it. And Jalen Jones getting 100 tackles from the corner position is pretty nice too. Joe Flacco probably should have played a little more, even though I think that tread's gone off of the tire. I think it would have been a good idea to use him instead of Richardson. Taven Bryan's head is too small for his body. Grant Stewart looked like he crip walked at the halftime show. Serena slap a beard on there. That's all the people I'll make fun of, unless you guys have someone to talk about. Matt Gay, I have to. He made all his field goals. 68 punts is okay, but I'd like to see it less. And then Luke Rhodes doesn't really look like a long snapper, but I guess he is one. Again, with hilarious Indiana names, Jim Cooter, Shane Stinson, and Gus Bradley for the coaching staff. I don't see. Oh yeah, we should probably give the ball to the other team less, and that would help our success. 30th in turnovers. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that concludes talking about my shit bucket of a team that I like.
Okay. Any discussion there, Nancy?
Hopefully they can do everything the opposite of what they did last year, and then we'll see some success and win, hopefully, more games. I think, I don't know, I thought Richardson was going to be quite a bit better than he turned out to be, and so a lot of where I thought the improvement was going to take place did not, and we didn't really use Flacco when it turned out to be the case that he was kind of a bust. So I don't have a ton of hope coming up for the Colts. We never really have a great defense. It's usually on the shoulders of the offense, and we don't have those key mastermind quarterbacks that we're used to. So it's going to be a rough 5-7 for us.
Yeah, it's Anthony Richardson, when he played his best quarterback, is when he was closing his eyes and chucking it as far as he possibly could. And things just worked out when he did that. But if there's a guy, 5 yards in front of him, it's like the longest yard. Why can't I play quarterback? Throw me the ball.
That's why.
Yeah. I was going to say something similar to Dustin, that Anthony Richardson might have had the best throw of the entire season. In week 1, I think he threw it about 70 yards in the air on a dime to Alec Pierce in the end zone, triple coverage, but he threw it right into the pocket. And I remember when we talked about that, Dustin was like, Anthony Richardson was super impressive. And I was like, yeah, but timeout. Because he can make those throws that 2 or 3 other people in the world can make, but he can't make the throw that your average Joe
Everybody
quarterback can make.
Yeah.
And it goes 47% throwing the football on easy throws that he just can't connect with. And so that needs to improve. He probably has next year is his last year to try and prove that he's a quarterback that can stay in the NFL.
I agree.
I might be one of the only people, and understandably so, that still kind of believes in him. I think he has the potential to be. I guess we all said it a while ago that he had the highest potential, and I still think he does. I think he can still be a really good quarterback, but I think he needs more experience. But he's been getting injured every single year. He can't get all the experience that he needs, and also I think it has to come with the offensive, whether it's the quarterback's coach or an offensive coordinator. Sometimes it's about being at the right place, the right time. We could, kind of cue a few quarterbacks as an example for that, where they've gone and they've succeeded. Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay, for example. Maybe it's that, but either way, I might be the only one who thinks that he can still do it. He can still be a great quarterback. But I mean, I guess we'll see. He has to stay healthy first off.
You think Cooter's going to turn it around for him?
I'm not even gonna do that. Yeah, I saw you lob it up there, but I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Okay.
I ain't touching that Cooter, Dustin.
All right, Dustin, you're up.
All right, so talk about the Jaguars. So, yeah, one of the worst offensive performances of the season, and then defense to boot as well. They couldn't get yards and they allowed a lot. And just nothing was happening either in rushing or in the passing game. Didn't see much success, and so it's unfortunate to see the Trevor Lawrence fall off here, and I don't know if it's recoverable. We'll get to that. Talking about him, so 60% completion. Again, that's 10% below great, and just couldn't get the ball into the end zone. 26 rushes. One of them was the one that did it for sure. Ended his season. But yeah, nothing too much to talk about with him, unfortunately. Here, Travis Etienne is one of those. I think he's a spark plug for the team, but unfortunately, only 2 touchdowns. Things that didn't get out. He didn't get in the end zone very much. And then we got Brian Thomas, who is what is it? That's 70% of the yards here was on him.
And he was a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie, so got 10 touchdowns, and so he could be a potential bright spot. But you got to get some type of production out of your other guys. It can't be a one-on-one every time. Nothing here to talk about. Obviously, they had some injury troubles, especially there on the left side. But there's no colors here, meaning nobody did anything of note. And this was a team that struggled to run the ball. So they didn't protect and they didn't run the ball. So here the edge rushers here. Josh Hines-Allen is usually fantastic. 8 sacks is below what you'd expect out of somebody like him. Ultimately, nothing to note here. Disappointing season from these two.
I will say 10.5 sacks from Trayvon Walker isn't bad.
Sure.
But
He looks like he hates being in photographs, though.
probably hates being on the Jaguars.
Yeah, it is Florida.
Yeah.
For the second level, Devin Lloyd has always been a fantastic linebacker. 113 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 passes defended. He was kind of the leader of that defense there. Foyesade Aluakon. Is that how you say it? That's a good name.
Close enough, yeah.
What did you call me?
There's fighting words where I'm from.
It's good to see when your linebackers can do both. They can stop the run in the trenches and also defend the pass. And so both of these linebackers are able to do that. So that was the one bright spot on defense. And then in the secondary, there are a lot of tackles here. I mean, everybody over 50 tackles except for Jones. And so when your safeties and cornerbacks are getting tackles, that's not great. Too many tackles all here. And again, nobody got recognized for anything great. Looks like there's only a couple of interceptions across the board, 3 or 4 interceptions across the board.
I don't think anybody on their team defensively had over 100 tackles.
Tank Bigsby is another one of those spark plug guys. He had 7 touchdowns, and so whenever he got in, he did great there. But again, all your production is coming from your running backs in the passing game.
Yep.
And then on defense, look at Jeremiah Ledbetter, who's able to get in with 8 tackles for loss. And Devon Hamilton with 62 tackles. Ventrell Miller with 80 tackles. And so, yeah, they had a lot of good subs, some good depth, but again, it didn't stop the other team from scoring. We can go next.
Looks like he had to. Okay, there he goes.
Sorry.
All right, so it's a really bad team when you've got Pro Bowlers from special teams that you're sending, and all pros. But 34 punts landing within the 20. That's pretty good. I mean, 34 out of the 68. You got half your punts landing within the 20. That is quite good actually. And going 27 to 29 on field goals again. That's really good.
And that's a rookie. Cam Little there played really well out of Arkansas.
Yeah. Doug Peterson, he got fired this year. We kind of saw that coming after they weren't able to turn around after a couple of disappointing seasons. And you could see 32nd in turnovers forced. They just weren't getting turnovers. We saw that on the secondary page. So there was like 4 interceptions across the entire secondary. But neither of these coordinators were doing great. But Ryan Nielsen, that's a fake mustache.
I was going to say, it looks like his teeth and mustache come off and go back on in the morning. He was born with no lips, guys.
So I think he's got Press Taylor's teeth on his mustache. They're the same teeth.
Yeah, are you photoshopping people, Scott? What do you do?
No, I think the Jaguars marketing team is. So, okay, Dustin, discussion.
Yeah, so discussion. This was a disappointing season from the Jaguars. I feel like it was kind of their last chance to prove not only Doug Peterson but mostly Trevor Lawrence. I felt like kind of was the last chance, and so I don't know if the Jags are going to move away from Trevor Lawrence. They definitely moved away from Doug Peterson, but team could not produce on offense, and then defense were not successful at all either. You react.
Yeah. First of all, before this season started, they gave Trevor Lawrence a massive extension, so he's there for a while, like it or not, if you're the Jaguars. And they just hired what's his bucket from Tampa Bay to be their head coach. Trying to remember his name right now. Liam Cohen, yeah. And I did eventually watch that press conference, Cody, that you were referring to, because I wanted to see what he had to say. But it was just kind of awkward, and I think it is no matter what when you're the owner of the Jaguars. He's had like 5 new head coaches in the last 10 years that he's introduced over there in Jacksonville. One of them being Urban Meyer, and which was a bad situation. But it's just you don't believe the Jaguars anymore. You don't believe him anymore that they're going to get this right, and you don't know what it's going to take for them to get it right, because they don't have the personnel to compete at the highest level, even if they do end up making a playoff in a weak division.
And then to add to that, it's interesting because they just hired a new GM as well, and he looks like he's 20 years old. Yeah. He's extremely young, and I don't know if this is his first GM spot. I don't know his background or anything. He could be exactly what they need. I don't know, but it's kind of being not a Jaguars fan, looking from the outside, seeing Liam Cohen come in and just completely mess up the Duval, and then this 20-year-old GM come in and almost looks like he doesn't know what he's talking about. It just, it kind of backs up your point, honestly, Scott. I don't even know the owner's name. I know he's Indian, but I don't.
Shahid Khan, I think.
Shahid Khan. I just don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. I just don't know what they're doing, and I'm not sure if he does even at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't that the name of the tiger in the Jungle Book?
Shere Khan.
That was good. That tickled me, bro.
Okay. We got 15 minutes to finish this up. That's very doable. But the Tennessee Titans were not only the worst team in this division, they were the worst team in the NFL. 3-14 last year, 27th. I mean, it looks really weird when you finish 30th in points, but second in yards allowed. Like that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be possible. The reason is that their offense gave the ball away at the worst possible times. You can see they were the worst in turnovers in the entire league. 34 total turnovers. They're giving the ball away right at the goal line so that the other team can score immediately without having to move the ball. And that's why this happens. And that's not a good numbers to have in that sense. Will Levis, he had a rough season. 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Just not good at all. I think we'll talk about quarterbacks during the discussion, but I think it's a very slim possibility that he comes back as a starting quarterback next year. Tony Pollard actually had a really good year on a very bad team. Over 1,000 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had a pretty good season, over 1,000 yards receiving. Nobody else did anything. But those two guys at least showed up for a bad team. Offensive line was horrible. J.C. Latham held his own as a rookie on the left side, especially switching from the right in college. He looks like he'll be there. He had a lot of penalties, though. He held his own when it came to pass blocking, run blocking, but a lot of penalties he has to clean up. The other 4 spots might change. Yeah, no kidding. 6, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. But we probably will see 4 different guys and J.C. Latham next year. Jeffrey Simmons is the one player to call out on this team. His numbers don't really show a whole lot, though. Only 5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. 76 tackles is pretty good from a defensive lineman. He did go to the Pro Bowl. He wins on that defensive line. No one else did anything, though. Just him. Over here, both Harold Landry and Arden Key are the rushers from the edge. Jeffrey Simmons moves inside, defensive tackle during rushing situations. And so Landry and Key are the pass rushers. 6.5 sacks, 9 sacks. That's okay for those two guys. You want to see a little bit more, but Kenneth Murray with 95 tackles was the leader. In the secondary, not a whole lot to call out. The only one that I will call out is Amani Hooker, who had 5 picks on the season. So best guy there. Mason Rudolph started a few games, but he had 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So I don't think he's the answer either. Next year, we'll talk about that in a second. And the defensive bench, L'Jarius Sneed got injured. He was kind of the big guy that came over in free agency, but couldn't play a whole lot before he got hurt. Quandre Diggs was the same thing. Over here, Nick Folk is always a great kicker. He's probably the best player on this team. 21 of 22 field goals, 25 of 25 extra points. He is just solid from that kicker.
He scores the most.
Yeah. And Ryan Stonehouse is a great punter as well. 50.6 average is pretty good. Although 38.3 net means your coverage team was awful. They couldn't do anything. And that's not his fault, though. 50 yards per punt is pretty good. So Brian Callahan, this was his first year. Obviously, they're not going to fire him after 1 year. No one should. It does happen, but it didn't happen here. But he has a lot to turn this around with. So I'm going to stop share and we can talk. The discussion point I wanted to bring up, again, referred to quarterbacks. The Titans have the first pick of the draft. So you can think that they have 3 options, right? You either draft, whether it's Shador Sanders or it's Cam Ward. I mean, those are going to be the top two quarterbacks. They either draft one of those two guys and go with the rookie, or they pick a weapon or an offensive lineman or something like that with the first pick and go after Sam Darnold. Hope that he can have the same magic in Minnesota that he had in Minnesota, or Daniel Jones. Hope that he can have some magic as well. Get one of those guys, one of the veterans that are available. The third option is to trade that first overall pick for a bunch of other draft picks and hope that maybe Carson Beck or not Carson Beck, sorry. Who am I thinking of? We talked about him during SEC. The third, Jackson Dart. That Jackson Dart maybe can be the guy for him going forward. Those are their three options. I'm curious what you guys think. What I think they should do is do that third one. I think they should trade the pick, get a lot of picks later, and hope that they can pick up a quarterback down the road as well as a veteran option. Kind of, I think that first pick is so valuable to trade. That's what I think they should do. But
yeah, I think a rookie with the abysmal amount of success they had, they wouldn't be able to protect him. So getting a early round pick quarterback from the college draft isn't going to do anything but hurt his career and your chances of success. So I would agree with your idea of trading that pick for somebody more, hopefully more veteran status, so you don't just implode his career and not do your team any good because you're just throwing a rookie out there to the Wolves because you don't have a line yet.
Yeah, I think that we're kind of along the same pages here. Is that, I mean, Will Levis was a first-round pick, wasn't he?
I think it was a second-round pick.
Second-round pick. Well, anyway, he was, a top quarterback taken, and yeah, nothing good. He wasn't able to do it, and so what makes you think that taking another quarterback is going to do it? I think we see that, it's basically 1 out of 5 rookie quarterbacks have a successful season. And so I don't see how they could think of that being better. So yeah, I would go for a veteran. Even somebody with just a few years of experience can do quite good for you.
Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. And I think it's interesting because when what's his name, the Titans quarterback right now,
Levis.
Thank you, Levis. When he was drafted, so he fell to the first pick in the second round, and I remember most of us. I don't remember why I remember this, but Scott for sure had said like that we couldn't believe that he had fallen that far. That this was a steal for the Titans, that they were going to be in good shape, and yada yada yada. And here we are, right? They got the first pick in the draft now, and I guess this can really go back to the whole evaluation of quarterbacks conversation. But I think the question is does he have anything left? Does he have any more potential that can be? I don't want to say exploited, but you know what I'm saying, like used. And I don't know, but I think I agree with the whole trading the first pick. But I wouldn't be so quick to throw Levis to the bench or to the Wolves. I think he would need to, have someone, a veteran, come in and kind of play for a little bit with the hope that maybe that helps him. But I wouldn't be so quick to just say you're not playing, you're not starting anymore, yada 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 kind of thing. I think try to go the route of developing him a little bit more, because this is his second year in the league, isn't it? Or first, even second? One of those.
No, this is his second year. Yeah,
second year. So he'll be going to his third year. So, it's a last chance kind of shot idea. But I would be hesitant to throw him to the Wolves so fast.
Yeah. Okay, last thing I'm going to share is the predictions from the beginning of the season. Unlike last week, no one got this one right. We all got 2 of them, and so it's hard to say who got the best. Yancey was the only one that got the Jaguars and Titans in the right order at the end, 3-4 there. The rest of us, except Yancey, all got the Texans in the right spot. at number 1. And so, but Yancey was the closest to getting the Colts number 2. So, I mean, it's just no one got it right. Everyone except Yancey and Dustin got the Texans in the right spot. So that means Cody and I got it good, and Yancey was the only one to get the Jaguars and Titans at 3-4. So, any last thoughts about how this finished?
Yeah, looking forward to the next year coming up.
Okay. Can we talk about exciting teams next week?
We
Good job,
can, because we're
Dustin.
going to be talking about the Super Bowl champion next week. The NFC East is next week. We're all in college. We're also going to talk about all of the minor league teams, and it's going to be really quick. We're just going to, rather than team by team, it's just going to be division by division, and we're going to finish that out pretty quick. And so college football will be done after next week, and then the NFC East. And we'll throw in some other things in there, I think. But
can I petition that Dustin be the one to review the Eagles in full detail?
That's funny. I can tell you right now how we did at the beginning of the year. Dustin has the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, but and I have the New York Giants. Yancey gets to get the Super Bowl champion Eagles, and Cody gets the fun Washington Commanders. So
Go Birds.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, boys.
See ya.